And on rituals,
Right.
that's why
On
they
the
worship
ritual,
it.
you're supposed to face the east.
Yeah, you always supposed to face the east.
Unless
Exactly. And it gotta go with
unless
it.
you coming from the Garvey school.
Well, I ain't from this.
Garvey was telling us that they was having you facing the wrong direction, telling you it was east. Because he had
Or
everybody facing the west.
which a lot of our grandparents did that when they came in and infiltrated them organizations so they come back and get the knowledge and help reverse some of the spin. So a lot of us, you be thinking your grandma and your grandpa was just in that stuff, but they was actually coming in and doing some reverse and like shutting down a lot of the stuff that was going on.
Well,
But okay, I'm gonna let you go back.
remember, we couldn't get no dark faces in until Prince Hall came.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Right. Once Prince Hall came, then we get to find out what they doing in secret that's keeping us loopy. We loopy. We walking around like drunk people when we sober.
Mm-hmm.
So when we get drunk, we be looking at the drunk people like they crazy, but to
Mm-hmm.
the spiritually in tune person, we everybody look drunk. So he can't
Mm-hmm.
tell the alcoholic from the one that's drunk on ignorance. Only
Mm-hmm.
difference is one of them walk straighter. That's
It also
like
not
everything
saying
you drink don't give you the same drunk.
it don't, because you can make drink some clear some wine and you be fine, and then you get that old brown, and they say brown make you clean.
Mm-hmm. So Garvey was the first one to tell us to look. We look into the. They say look to the east, but he's pointing us
Mm-hmm.
west.
Right.
But everybody else is telling us that over there to Africa is east. That can only be east,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That can only be east if north is up. But we know
Mm-hmm.
south is up because the Queen lands on the top.
Right.
Remember, Australia is called the Queen's land.
Right.
Australia get the sun before everybody else.
They do. Right now they're in the summer. Right. They're hot right now. They're in the summer in Australia.
Upside down, yeah,
And
upside
they're
down
one of the
season.
homes of the oldest stargates in Australia.
Mm-hmm. They could
Huh.
come the
And
same
Australia
Stargate.
houses one of our originals from the house.
Yeah. So if you go through the Australian Stargate, you can get to the Grand Canyon
Yes, you
in
can.
Arizona,
Yes,
or
you
you can
can.
get to Cairo, Egypt,
Yes, you
or you
can.
can get to Tibet. You can get to Alaska. We don't know about the
Mm-hmm.
Black Pyramid in Alaska. We think that's just some stuff they talk about in a fictional movie, but it's really a
No, it's
black
very
pyramid.
real. Yeah,
Really, a
it's
black
very real.
pyramid over there. It was a whole pyramid complex in Alaska. We got to remember before we lost all of that material that makes up the what they call the iron bracelet,
Mm-hmm.
which is the meteor belt, right? Before we lost
Mm-hmm.
all that, Earth was like a third larger than it is now, or two-thirds
Yes,
larger
yeah,
actually.
it was.
And in the moon that they took,
Mm-hmm. Let's
and
talk
they
about
come with this. So we was using the moon that's now assigned to Saturn called Lilith.
Lilith. That's what we call the black moon or the dark moon, and that's why you're supposed to work with that energy. But we had to learn how to even alchemize what it is that they're doing now, right? So that's
Right.
what we call Lilith power, empresses.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the lunar energy, it took them. That women had to learn how to control that because it took they autonomous control the biofield, which turns off or
Mm-hmm.
turns on your
Mm-hmm.
cycle monthly.
Mm-hmm. And you shouldn't even really have to have a monthly, because the way the spirit gave it to me is you can shut down and like slow down your aging. I have not had a monthly cycle all the time since I was 26 years old, and I slowed down my aging process. So spirit showed me just like men have semen retention, women are we used to control how we used to want to move around on this planet.
Yeah. And the moon is the tool that they use to
Mhm.
block the ability of the woman to automatically control it.
Yep. But see, that time is up because, again, remember, January 11th, we just hit a very pivotal point. Virgo is in a big seat, March 13th.
Mm-hmm.
March 13th is the first Virgo eclipse, and it's going to keep moving and eclipsing. That's one of the biggest dates that we have coming. And then June 9th. June 9th is another big date because that's when we have what they call Jupiter, which is really Juno, right? Because they call it Jupiter, but it's really Juno, which is wisdom, growth, expansion, and is moving in Cancer. And this is going to be going on all the way through to about 2027, 2028. This energy is very, very strong. So the feminine energy is rising in the planet by whether people like it or not. So it's us learning how to control what we call our dark feminine energy and learning how to not let it control us.
Now remember, Earth was feminine, and all the Earth energies was feminine, including the Lilith moon. The Lilith moon is most powerful during the time that you don't see the lunar moon.
That's what we call the dark moon, which is what some people call the new moon. That's when you're actually empresses. Everybody likes to talk about the full moon, baby, it's that new moon that you could get, you put some work in.
So the Lilith moon is the most powerful moon. That's why they always try to downplay Lilith.
Yes.
When women start tuning into the Lilith moon, they get more self-control and spiritual control of their reality.
Yes.
They don't want that to happen. This is the origin of the black don't crack, because the women used to live for thousands of years, but they only used to have a menstrual cycle when they decide to have a child. They'd have 2 cleansing cycles where they build the uterus up, so that's 2 cycles, and when it comes time for the 3rd cycle, that's when she ovulates.
Spirit
she used to control that.
We're babies. Like if you're 50, you're literally like an infant. You're a baby, because what he's saying is true. We lived a long, long time. And the coded book of the Bible broke it down. Like if you read the coded book of the Bible, it was like, oh, you live 900 or whatever. Because remember, that book, it ain't nothing but a code. They give you a lot of the information, even in the lies of the code, because that's all it is. You just have to decode a lot of the scriptures. But Spirit was like, well, that's why I'm like, I ain't getting old. Like, really, that's why we in our culture, we say you're the first mother or the second mother or the third mother. We didn't say you're my children or granny or great, great, great. It was because we knew everyone coming in was mothers or you were fathers. And you was the first mother, the second mother. And we already knew because we were here for a long time.
The word aunt comes from the word aunt. Because they said they called us ants as a derogatory. Because they say we hover around our big mama like a bunch of ants, termites or bees, right? So they was identifying our natural desire to support Big Mama and governing and caretaking of the land, right? So they called us ants. So my mother's sister, my father's sister became known as your auntie.
Right.
They trying to get everybody off the mother focus.
Yes.
Because when you get all of these mothers together, there's only going to be one Big Mama. The one Big Mama is the one who has the same signature alignment of genetics as the first mother of the earth.
That's right.
The soil of the earth contains the chemical mitochondria that tells you where all of the women come from. The 12 daughters of Isis, different parts of the planet, different regions that they governed over. It's not just one. Now, because of the way that it's structured, you have so many Big Mamas, but they go up in like stacks of decks of cards. Every mother got her household or her community hold, and then she connect with a mother with similar status in her community, and now them two communities start working together, or so on and so forth, until they all tied together. The real secret right now is the more sisters, Greek sisters in love, the faster this stuff moves. The slowing down of the time is done by the women refusing to work together.
And I'm glad you brought that up, right? Because when I went to Jekyll Island, right, I'm thinking I'm just going there on some money stuff and to loose the money. And, you know, I wouldn't even think I was going to have to go because I know people Rich Stone had went. But Spirit made me go, right? And so when I went there, I was greeted by hundreds. And I'm not exaggerating, hundreds of orange and black butterflies. They like guided me to the water. And when I got there, it looked like sand dunes, but then the mothers, it was like all of these buried mothers. Like it was, I know we talk about Jekyll Island and we talk about what they did with the Federal Reserve, but this shit goes back. This goes back way deeper than some little 1930s, 1940s. That's the cover They did do that. I'm not saying they didn't do it. They did. But that's the cover up. That ain't what really messed it up. And the mothers came, and I mean, I cried. It took me a few weeks. I was broke down because I was mounted by like hundreds. I mean, I'm a person who could carry a lot of spirit and energy. And it was like dooms, it's like tombs. And so I had to like as many of the mothers as I could lay and touch and honor them. And so when I got it in the spirit, and the channel was like over about 2.8 million of what we call our years, it was like a war broke out. And so what you're saying about like the women getting along is so important and deep because most women have something where either they've had an issue with a woman or their mother, right? That's the dis-ease. That's the dis-ease.
They call it the
And that's
mother
what has
wound.
to be broken. And so and this has gone on for a while, for a long time. And I'm grateful, like at least with my mom and grandmother, I didn't have that. My daughter that I have, I love my baby. I ain't do my daughter like that. But this right here, where they put the thing, what we talk about, see, what Spirit told me I had to come and expose was the hand behind the hand. Right? So we knew folks thought first they thought it was the white folks. Then we know we heard about the dirty Moors. But even those who was placed in positions and why we hated our people was really hating men. It was these women, these false mothers and false matriarchs who put them in position to hide their dirty work. And so it takes a God to make another God remember that you're not a God. I'm going to repeat that for you one more time. It takes a God to make another God forget that you are a God. So it was somebody very old and very ancient who did not want to come up off their seat and off their throne for their daughters, because we passed it to our daughters that did that. So that's why in this time we have another chance. And number one, we're not dealing with the unrighteous matriarch. Like, I'm gonna let y'all handle the men and the chiefs. That ain't my job. I ain't no man. That's why when my sons they of age, I didn't pass them to the men. Like, Chief David, you take them from here. Who I'm dealing with is the women. Because see, they didn't hear too goddamn long. And they thought that they got away with. And you like, just like how the dirty Moors thought they hit, but even my beef, even though I got beef with them, my beef ain't even all the way with them. My beef is with the helpers who put them in position. Put them in position. Because they don't want to get off their seat, and they know that we're supposed to carry these seats for
Okay,
so long, and
so
then we're supposed to
let me
pass
tell you.
it to your daughter.
Let me tell you exactly how they did it and where they did it and who they did it with.
Oh, I stand it because they showed it to me. And I'm telling you, I was hurt. I went through the 5 stages of grief. I was angry. I was in shock. No, I was in shock first. Like, what? I was shocked, angry. I went through so many stages. I was like, they did what? Because I just couldn't believe. I was
Okay, so
prepared for this.
let me let me give you the background.
Mm-hmm.
We trace everything back, all of the corruption of the world. We end up in a central location. Today we call that location Babylon,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But it had other names. It was called Babel. It was called
Yes.
the land of the Chaldees. It was
Mm-hmm.
called the Sumer at large. But all of the time that was going on, it was
Mm-hmm.
still the suburbs to Kemet.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now,
Mm-hmm.
when we trace back, we make a stop in the 18th dynasty in the priest wars,
Yes. Yes.
right? In the 400-year captivity in Babylon of the so-called Jews is where they
Mm-hmm.
got the material in the 18th dynasty to fight priest wars in secret. Now here
Mm-hmm.
go the part we don't know. All
Mm-hmm.
of the priests back then was women. This was a harem conflict.
Yes. 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 Talk on it.
In
Yes.
the conflict of the harems,
Mm-hmm.
right? The Amun
Mm-hmm.
priestesses
Mm-hmm.
wanted to silence the Aten priestess. Now,
Mm-hmm.
how do we see this play out in modern times?
I heard that they're
You
like the
feel, listen,
council of the wise elders, what we call the council of the wise
watch
elders. I know
watch
exactly what
this,
you're talking
watch
about.
this, watch this. When you sitting in church and you
Mm-hmm.
see a young, attractive girl walk in, and then you hear some unprovoked
Mm-hmm.
old lady say, "Look at her. She thinks she everything. Oh, look, pissy
Mm-hmm.
tail slut."
Mm-hmm.
The girl didn't even do nothing.
Walked in. I went through it a lot. We all went through it when we was in church. A lot of
Right,
us.
because she's attacking her at her beauty.
Mm-hmm.
She's condemning her because of her
Mm-hmm.
beauty.
Mm-hmm.
Beauty is one of that's what made men turn to stone looking at Medusa.
Yeah.
That was metaphoric, not literal.
Mm-hmm.
And she whoop their ass as soon as they get froze like that, because they don't think she gonna fuck them up.
Mm-hmm.
She gonna give them the business.
Mm-hmm.
And she had two sisters with her. They called the three of them together the Gorgons, right?
Mm-hmm.
Medusa is the priestess ranking system of the Sa, the Dula priestesses,
Yeah.
right? The highest rank you can be is Medu. That means that you've reached the highest attainment. Alpha meets Omega at
And on
this
the
point.
Hindu side, they call them the deadly tribe as well.
Yep. And in Greece, they call the Delphi.
And even still in what they call now China, because actually Spirit led me to it, they actually belong to their own military, like they're their own branch, but they don't go out and fight a war. It's a spiritual side. Like I'm telling you, this stuff is deep. Yeah.
So when you trace back from the 18th dynasty, where the literature that's still in circulation called Talmud and Mishnah, right, and the Sephra and all these other spiritual writings that they brought out of Babylon,
right,
after the 400, there was no Torah yet.
Right.
There wasn't no Torah yet. Wasn't no Bible yet.
Right.
They wasn't walking around. Jews or Hebrews or whatever you want to call them was not walking around with a Bible, let alone an Old Testament, because the New Testament is older than the Old Testament.
Well, first of all, we are I always tell people, you the 67th book of the Bible. Like, we are the walking word. We stopped channeling and getting our information from within and started depending on a man, and then have to learn to start worshiping the gods, or what you call the gods, which was spiritual helps or ancestors or deities. Like, they just miss us. It's like, what happened to you? Do you know how many various incarnates you had? Like, how old and ancient? Like, if you got I tell people, you got an altar to yourself, you can get yourself a disservice. You literally did.
Genetic similarities causes the Sybil effect. Right now, the Sybil effect is when multiple women, they think they're the same historical creature or personification, because that historical personification is the same DNA signature, and they all activate.
The only Phoenix and the only God and the only whatever, and it's like, girl, you're not the only one. And they over here then lost their mind because they didn't channel and went too fast, too deep, and didn't get all their Akashic records right, and want people to worship them. And ain't nobody finna worship you. Shit.
That ain't even what the guy's supposed to been doing anyway.
Exactly.
The guys ain't here to worship them.
You out of order. You're supposed to be here helping the people. But they let you know again, that's a definition. Yeah, that's a child, that's an unrighteous goddamn matriarch.
Okay.
But anyway.
Now, so when we get to Babylon,
don't do nothing but talk, and she knows she'll get her ass whooped. But anyway, come on.
Yeah. So when we get to Babylon, we discover something called the Anunnaki Wars.
Come on.
Right? They're not called Anunnaki Wars. They called the conflict of gods. They don't look at it like war. War is a game that humans play.
Yes.
Okay.
Explain why war is a game that humans play, because of the Brahim.
We'll come back to that. So when we trace the war back, who was the generals that was commanding these wars as gods? And then you find out there was two opposing paradigms being pushed. It was Prince Ea, we know him as Enki, and his brother, who we know as Enlil.
Correct.
Right? Enlil, also known as Yahweh. And when you get to Europe, he becomes Zeus.
That's what Rashad was. People wasn't listening to him. That's what he was trying to tell people.
Yeah. Zeus and Yahweh is the same person. So when you find out Alexander was given the credit for conquering the world when he conquered India, but it wasn't India yet. It was Hindustan, right?
Yes.
So Alexander got something called the Scrolls of Destiny, which tells you how to govern planets of people.
Yes.
Right. And in there, he learned to control economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war.
What they call
They using the moon.
It's a whole thing, but they were actually deities. What they call arrhythmia and all that. Those are actually deities they was worshiping. But they was mothers, actually feminine energy.
So Enlil married a person that came through a portal in a mirror universe to this one. Everything from that universe is upside down and backwards to this one.
The Stranger Things. Think about that show, The Stranger Things. If anybody got kids that watch The Stranger Things, they talk about the upside down. That's what they was talking about. Okay, come on.
Yeah. So when he opened the portal, his wife can't sit on the sacerdotal seat because the appearance of a phallus.
Yes.
Right? And because of the masculine expression, even though it had two X chromosomes, which gave it mitochondrial rights, it had something that resembled a male genitalia, which prohibited it from sitting on Big Mama's seat. In other words, Big Mama said, that bitch can't sit on my seat, her ass nasty. So the measure that they used to control us was put the bitch from the Mirrorverse in charge as the Divine Mother. And every chance you get, you have to disgrace Kali Ma. You have to disgrace Inanna. You have to disgrace the priestess of the Delphi. You have to disgrace the divine Isis. You have to disgrace all of the feminine orders. So with that, the ruling order is the one from the Mirrorverse. That's why Holly Weird is upside backwards. Half the people we think men is women, and half people we think women is men. And they each other. And the term they use is, she my lipstick and he my mustache. They don't recognize gender because they come from a alternate reality of this. If you ever watch the show Sliders, that'll tell you how they got here. But they